Hey, Carrie. Hello, everybody. Hello. Hello, hello.
Hey,
And we're
how are
back.
you?
We had like 500-600 people in here. Everybody tap, tap, tap. Oh, Krista found the new emotes. We got new emotes in there now, y'all.
All right, let me smoke this cigarette before
All
we
right.
start anything.
I'll go ahead and I'll go over
I
everything with
know for
everybody that's
sure.
coming in. Oh, the cats are going crazy. I need everyone tapping in. Have your tissues ready. So, everybody that is first time sweet tea, thank you for coming in. We are going to keep the comments on. We're going to be having a conversation about Christian's life, his trials and tribulations, everything that he's been through. This is going to be very triggering. Some subjects are going to be very triggering for you. If you have to step away or if it's something that you just can't handle right now, I do upload every video to YouTube. The link is in my bio, or you can search Sweet Tea with Danny, D-A-N-I. Also, you can, if you have a crisis, if this triggers you to where you have a crisis, you can text home to 741-741. And that'll get you connected with a crisis hotline with a counselor, and it is a free service. There's also 211 in the United States, and I think it's also for Canada. That is social services. So that'll get you connected with any services that you may need. We are going to have the comments on. The comments are going to stay on. If for any reason it gets out of hand, or my mods think that maybe the comments need to be turned off, we're going to turn the comments off, but we'll try to turn them back on. If we can do a Q&A at the end, we will. We'll kind of do a little bit. But for the most part, it's just going to be strictly a conversation between us two. Everybody knows Christian.
Hey, how's it going?
All right, let me pause this song because my ADHD cannot keep up with that. All right, guys, I need everyone to keep tapping, tapping, tapping. Oh, that's another thing. If for any reason we get bananaed, I have a backup account that I'll be going to. The backup is Danielle Renee 00_backup. If that one gets bananaed, I have an Instagram that's Danielle Renee 00. And if that one gets it, I have a YouTube. This conversation is not going to be ending tonight. If for any reason whatsoever, so we'll definitely be moving around if we have to. Make sure to be respectful. It might not be something that you agree with, but be respectful. This is Christian's story and everything that he has overcame. And I really hope that this reaches the right people or gives you maybe a better understanding as to who Christian is.
Say that last part again.
Gives you a better understanding of who Christian is.
That's it.
Yes.
That's it.
I think that everybody has these ideas of who we are, or they don't understand something about us. And so whenever we give them a little bit more detail about things we've been through, they'll be like, oh, that makes sense as to why Christian's like that, or it makes sense as to why Danny's like that. So hopefully with these sweet teas, it just brings more healing to people. Gets a better understanding. Healing heals us, and it heals y'all at the same time. So, Christian, are you ready for your sweet tea?
Man, we spoke prior to this.
Mm-hmm.
It is a very emotional story for me. However, this is why I'm here. This is what makes me driven. So, I'm excited about getting the story out in hopes that it's going to help somebody else break free. To be able to know that anything is, to know that you can make it out of any situation. Okay. I'm already teary-eyed and I ain't even started yet. Like, damn, I'm like a nervous wreck
You
right
know
now.
what's
And I
going
don't
to be
even know why.
coming.
Yeah, well, let's go.
All right. So, Christian, start us off. Give us young Christian. How did it all start for you? How did life start for you?
Well, I came from a very broken and battered family. Both my parents were addicts. My father was an alcoholic. My mother, she was on anything and everything that you could possibly think of. Sex, drugs, and men is the only thing that she cared about. Okay. We'll start at as young as I can remember, 4 years old. My father always being passed out because he is an alcoholic. My mom finally had enough and left him. Right? She took the 5 of us. There was 5 of us children that remained in this home. There were 2 more children prior, but they were removed at birth. They were adopted out.
Oh wow.
I don't know who they are. But anyways, I do have a long lost sister and brother out there somewhere. But that being said, after we left our father, again, we were poor. We were very poor. My mother was on welfare. She never worked, right? And she was a single mom of 5 children. And
Mm.
our life was utterly hell. We were tormented. We were tormented. And my mom became very abusive. Um, we had men in and out of our home all the time, every day, and I'm talking 5-10 minutes at a time. That being said, my mother would be out on the fix, right? She'd be out chasing
Mhm.
that next high. She left us. She abandoned us for days in and days out.
And you were how
And
old when this was happening?
at this time, probably around 5 years old, 5, 6 years old.
Were you the youngest, or was there like an older sibling?
I was the second oldest. I was
Oh
the
God.
second oldest. My sister Misty is the oldest, and then I had Jeremy, Anthony, and then Kanda, she was an infant.
How old was your
So
sister at the time? Because she was the one probably watching you guys.
no, she wasn't.
Uh,
She was. If I was 5, she was 6.
oh God. So 6 and
Okay,
under, at home alone for days at a time.
for days at a time,
Oh my
and we
God.
had strangers in and out of our house. While our mom wasn't there, I lost my innocence at a very young age. Um, I was between 5 and 6 years old the first time I encountered SA. Um, my innocence were taken from me repeatedly. While these guys were in our home, they would have sold us. Our mom didn't care. She didn't care at all. She didn't care about any of us. Um, she met this man that our whole life changed. Our whole life changed. When we were SA, we tried to tell her, and we got beaten for it. Um, and when I say beaten, I'm talking brutally beaten. And so, we were at the time we were just babies,
Yeah.
and we had no love, no protection. We couldn't even talk to our own mother without being hurt, physically hurt.
Yeah.
So she met this monster, okay, and that's all that he is. He's a monster, and he ruined my life forever. He ruined all of our lives forever. Um, he come in and he would beat my mother to a pulp every single day. And the way that it was survival instinct. You
Mhm.
know, you want to protect your mom, right? And even at a young age, you don't know anything different but to
Yeah.
protect them. So, um, that being said, I would physically be beaten for trying to intervene and protect her,
Hmm.
not by her, but by him as well, the
Yeah.
two of them. Our mother she'd lock us up in a room for days. I'm talking padlocks on the doors like we were dogs. We were starved, um, days without eating. We were forced to relieve our fecal matter in our urine and registers and shoes because we had nowhere else to go. We,
Yeah.
we, we couldn't get out of the bedroom. We were locked in our bedrooms like caged animals um, for years. Like this is how it was. Um, this man would he would come in our room and he would viciously essay us. Um, we weren't allowed to cry. We weren't allowed to fight back. Um, if we spoke on it, we got our ass beat. We got hurt more. Um, he told us this is the normal thing to do. If we spoke on it, he was going to kill us. Um, we didn't know any better. We didn't know any better. Our mom failed to protect us. She didn't care. Um, the same individual would wake me up in the middle of our sleep, my sister, and brutally just beat us for the fun of it. It got him off. When I talk about beatings, I'm talking. It's not a spanking. It's the metal end of a fly swatter. It
Oh,
is a 2x4. It is big ass twigs. It is a leather belt. Um, his fist. Um, we physically couldn't walk. We would army crawl because we'd be broken. Our ribs be broke. We would be so broken we couldn't move, and so therefore we'd get drugged by the head of our hairs. Um, we had bald spots all over our heads. They would pick us up by our hair, drag us up the steps, and lock us away in the bedroom. We never went to school because of the amount of
yeah,
bruises. I mean, we were black and blue and green and yellow, every fucking color you can imagine.
yeah,
Um, we never knew what love was. We never knew what that safety net was. In a home, this is all we knew was to be beaten and raped and tortured. Um, the survival instincts kicked in. I had to protect my other siblings.
hmm,
That's the only thing that I could do was survive another day to protect them. I would take the blunt force of everything. Um, and do you know how hard that is for a child to do such a thing?
yeah,
I laid in bed and I cried and I cried and I cried. I didn't know who God was. I didn't know. I just prayed um, that we'd all die. Uh, it was it was hard because you know um, we wanted to go hug our mom. We wanted love. We wanted to not feel pain. That's all we knew was pain.
yeah,
We didn't know any different. It came to a point that I would have to sneak out of the bedroom through the window to get in the house and steal raw meat so that I could feed us kids. We had maggots, worms, whatever you want to call them, coming out of our extremities because we were eating all this raw food. Um, if we did eat, it would be scraps. It would be his and her scraps. Um, they would torment us by pouring an entire thing of salt on it or dish soap or whatever they can find. They'd pour on these scraps and sit there and laugh at us while we're puking and physically can't eat this shit. But we had to. We were forced to. That's the only food that we had.
yeah,
Our mom, she never protected us. Um, we
and
would.
take a break and some water if you need to. You just gave a lot. We could take as many breaks as you need.
I'm all right. I'm good
Okay,
right now. I'm good
okay,
right now. I appreciate it.
okay,
Our mom had this obsession with sex. Okay, we had to bring our blankets, our mattress down, and she would line us all up on a couch, and we'd watch her and him do their thing, and we weren't but 5, 6, 4, 2, and the other one was a baby. Um, my mother was sick. She was sick in the head, and we she would line us up, and we had the world's hottest peppers in a can, a jar, and she'd make us all eat them. And I'm talking a mouthful. If we came off a line, we got our ass beat. We got our ass beat. We would grab the back of a chair or the table, and they would swing that board, and I mean we just collapsed, right? Um, and we had these sores. Our mouths were bleeding. Um, it it wasn't a pretty sight. It wasn't a pretty sight. Then came who we thought we could trust, uh, her brother, which is my uncle.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he assaulted my sister and myself and my baby sister. He essayed us numerous of times. So not only were we getting assaulted by strangers and this man, um, Vince, now we're being assaulted by our uncle.
God.
We weren't able, we couldn't go to school because, like I said, we were broken and
Yeah.
battered and black and blue. When the school would call, it was we had head lice, right?
Mm.
There was always a reason as to why we weren't at school. And this happened for years. My own mother stabbed me. She starved us. I got a stab wound on my stomach like this long. Um, she broke my brother's jaw. She definitely wasn't fit to be a caretaker, a mother. The night that um, the night that we were taken away was the night that she was out with this guy, and we were being watched by complete strangers. And I was pinned to a table, and I was brutally assaulted by like 5 or 6 men. I was at the time 8 years old. I hurt so bad. I was bleeding. I was puking. Um, I was in so much pain. I ran out of the house, and all I did was I screamed and was yelling for my mom. And the only thing I could think of is she's in a bar. She's in a local bar. So I ran to these bars in the middle of the night and was yelling for Shelly, and she wasn't there. I took off running down the alley, and this cop, they must have called the police, the cop, and I took off running because I was scared. Um, I thought I was going to go to jail. I didn't know. I was terrified. I was a little girl
Yeah,
at the
you were trained from a young age. If you say anything,
time.
you get hurt.
Yeah, and he picked me up and he took me to a police station. I refused to say who I was. I didn't say anything, and so he took me in this cruiser, and we drove around, and he talked to me, and he made me feel safe. He made me feel safe and comfortable, and I pointed out my house to him, and he came in. There was guys, the guys that were there. I still didn't say anything. Um, I was shaking. I was cold, and I don't even know how long it was, but here comes my mom and the guy walking through the door, and they loaded us all up. CPS was then there. They loaded us all up in a car, and I remember my mom looked right at me and said, "This is your fault. This is all your fault." That haunted me um, for the majority of my life.
Yeah.
Like everything was my fault. I caused all this. Um, I didn't understand. So that night, um, they they separated all 5 of us, except for my sister and I, which is my older sister. The two of us, we went into a foster home. The other ones were all divided. So now you got all the siblings broken up.
Yeah.
We're all in different foster homes. Um, that foster home was the most amazing foster home that I could ever imagine. My foster dad was a pastor, and Joe and Lois was their name. They were the most beautiful, loving people in the world. And in the beginning, we shut down. We didn't talk to them. Um, we had to go in and be treated medically at the hospital because we were starved. At 8 years old, I think I weighed 40 pounds. My sister probably weighed like 43 pounds, and she's tall. And she had to have clothes made for her because she was so petite, so tiny. We all were. We were skeletons, and they went to jail. Um, Meanwhile, we're in the foster home, and it took some time for them to grow on us, but we felt safe. We felt safe in the foster home. Um, for the first time, I picked up a basketball. For the first time, I had a birthday. For the first time, I had all the celebrations that you would have, a Christmas and the whole nine
You
yards.
finally got to be a child.
Yeah, I had a hot meal. You know, um, we went through tremendous counseling, um, and our counseling was so severe that we went multiple days a week to
Yeah.
counseling. Um, and then, you know, we got taken from them. Um, this woman came in, and there was some money that was involved. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
with one of the children, um, due to something that happened medically as an infant. And the first thing the state did was they informed these families that this individual child came with me. So I'm gonna start it out by we were adopted for the wrong reason.
Mm.
Okay? They didn't want to the foster homes that we were in wanted to adopt us, and the state wouldn't allow that because they wanted all five of us children to be back together.
Yeah.
Now let me go back. Um, my mother, during this time, we were in the foster home for 4.5 years. During this time, my mother had tried to get back the two younger children,
Jesus.
and the day of their visitation, their weekend visitation, she abandoned them for 2 days in a schoolyard. Um, it was on a Sunday or a Saturday, a Saturday. And when the neighbor had called in, she heard an infant crying, a toddler crying, and she had left my little brother and sister. She abandoned them in a schoolyard. So I wanted to mention that, but they,
Did your mom ever have like get arrested for any things that she did?
yeah, she did some time. She did
Okay.
some time. So back to our adopted family. Um, they told me right off the rip that she didn't want me because I looked like I was a child that was on drugs because I had dark rings under my eyes. That she only wanted my older sister. But in order to get my older sister, she had to adopt all of us.
Oh.
So um, I I had this hate in my heart for her right
Mm-hmm.
off from the beginning because at this time I still wanted my mom. I still longed for my mother, like even through everything that we had been through. And I keep in mind I had to leave a lot of things out due to they're very triggering.
Yeah.
But I still longed to have that connection with my mom, and I thought this woman was trying to come in and be my mom, and so I had this resentment towards her.
Mm-hmm.
I was known as the rebel child because I never opened up. I self isolated. I never uh, allowed her to love me the way that she claimed she wanted to love me.
Mm-hmm.
And um, This woman she had a family of her own. She had a husband. They had 5 children together. So you're bringing in our 5. There's a total of 10 children.
Yeah.
This woman adopted us for the wrong reason, and I've said that already. Um, we were a paycheck. Okay, this woman was racist. We're biracial. My dad's black. My mom's white. So there was a divider from the beginning.
Yeah.
Her children got luxury things. Her children got name brand clothes. Her children got to eat out. Her children never had to clean. It was us.
Yeah.
Okay. We had to clean the entire house with a toothbrush. Um, we had to do everything. We got clothes from Goodwill, hand me downs, and at that time we didn't know any better anyways because we
Hmm.
never had that. We had shoes that were too small for us and clothes too big for us. So like that really didn't mean anything to us, but we could see the treatment
You see the
versus the
difference.
biological kids
Yeah.
versus the adopted kids. Um, that being said, um, like I said, she adopted the 5 of us, and my little brother. It wasn't maybe just a few months after she adopted us, she gave him back to the state. She gave him back to the state. He's got his own story. He doesn't know any. He doesn't know what family love is. He's never had that because he's always been in the system. So, um, it's the treatment with me was very bad. Um, Now, when I was in a foster home, basketball was introduced to me. Okay, sports for the first time. Basketball was my outlet. It was my life. That's all I did in my free time. I was one hell of a basketball player, and I played for the school team. Brought in a lot of championships because I'm telling you, I was that fucker that shot from the 3 point anywhere on the court, and I would
Yeah.
make it. That was my passion. And when I got with her, when we got placed in an adoption home, for the first 2 years, she wouldn't allow me to play. God forbid me take the spotlight off her daughter. Okay.
Wow.
Um, I would play, in gym and this, that, and the other, and the gym teacher would be like, "Man, you're talented. You need to play on the team." And I'm like, "My mom won't let me." So he called my mom and let me play. Um, I worked wonders, and I had a scholarship in basketball. Given that, my mother did not want to see me. My adopted mom did not want to see me succeed.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, my whole childhood was thrown in my face every day. You're gonna be like your mom. You're gonna be this. You're
Oh
gonna be
my
that. You're
God.
never gonna amount to anything.
And they
This
knew
is
your
this is your
story.
breed. This is where you come from. This is who you're supposed to be. Like mentally fucked with us. So
Yeah.
we went from a dramatic, like very, very tormenting, abusive home to a safety place to a mentally fucked home.
Yeah.
Okay, there was never any physical assault in this adopted home. It was mentally.
Yeah. But sometimes that mental.
And so, I'm second guessing myself, and I'm like, no, I'm still alive. I'm still here. There's a reason for me. I was convinced I was going to be the first female to play in the NBA. Like that's how passionate I was um, of sports, and this woman is telling me that you're not doing it. You're not playing. I'm your mom. You're gonna drop out of school, and you're gonna work for me. I was grounded every day. I was forced to stand in the corner for days in and days out. I was forced to drop out of school, and then that's what I did. I dropped out of school, and I went to working 80 hours a week. And I was doing this because if I was at work, I wasn't mentally being fucked.
Yeah.
I wasn't mentally being abused and treated as the color as they looked at me. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I would do anything to be away from that woman. So that's what I did. And I was working at Wendy's. That was my first job. I was working at Wendy's, and my manager, my manager, who she was very sweet on. Okay, he's at the time I was 16, 17, 16, and he was 28, 29 years old. And she's like, Christina, you need to be with him. He likes you. You need to be with him. And I'm like, no, that's not going to happen. Not going to happen.
Right.
I'm not into him. He's a big ass man. It's not going to
Well, you're a
happen. And
child. He's an adult.
that's it. That too.
Yeah.
This is the same woman that pressed. My sister was 16, and her biological nephew. She forced them to get married at a very young age. So this woman is a sick individual. Okay,
Yeah.
she's sick in the head. That is a prime example that they really need to do a background search and check everybody that is fostering and adopting.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that being said, I thought that this was she stopped me from working. Okay, like I said, I was bringing in $800 to $1,500 every 2 weeks
Mm-hmm.
because the amount of work I was putting in. I had to
Yeah.
sign my whole paycheck over to her.
Mm.
I didn't get a dime, not one dime, and I had done this for over a year plus. She would take her
But
paychecks.
the getting away was probably priceless for you. Being at
It
work.
was, it was, and
Yeah.
and and I wanted to go to school. I wanted to do what the normal kids did. And again, I'm in a situation where I'm being forced to do something that I don't want to do, but I have no other way because I don't have a life.
Yeah.
I'm grounded. I'm stuck in a corner. I'm being restrained by a grown ass man. And for me, that is a fear. That is a phobia that I have as men to
Yeah.
this day. At 40 years old, I have a fear of men. Not physically, because if I feel backed up, I will crush a guy. And
Mm-hmm.
that is just my internal instinct because of
Yeah.
all of the trauma that I've endured growing up, being harmed by these guys, right? So now I got this man that's on top of me, and I can feel his shit on me, and I'm freaking the fuck out, and like it's like survival instinct again kicks
Mm-hmm.
in. I'm wrestling. I'm trying to get away from him, um, for no reason, because I tell you that this is unfair. This is not normal, you know. So I don't know if that was a sick thing, you know. And I think that this woman had problems because, right, with all the trauma that I've encountered, you're a teenager and your cycle starts.
Mm-hmm.
How are you going to put a grown man in the same room with me
Yeah.
and show me how to insert a tampon
Mm.
and his face all up in my shit? That was very traumatic for me.
Right.
Um, Again, that was not normal for any
Mhm.
parent to do such a thing.
No.
Okay. Um, so this is just you guys getting an idea of the way this woman's mind works and the shit that we have gone through. Now, back to the gentleman at my job. I felt like, um, okay, well, I can't work. I'm stuck in the house. I can't go hang out with friends. I'm not allowed on the phone. I'm not allowed to watch TV. I'm literally stuck in a room again.
Yeah.
So if I date this guy or act on it, it's an outlet for me at
Mm-hmm.
16 years old. I get with this man, and For the first time, I had some freedom. I could leave the
Mm-hmm.
house. I was allowed to go to a movie. Um, I was anywhere but in sight of her and in that home.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then we it happened with this guy, and my first time I got pregnant with my oldest son. I didn't know. I thought he was protected. I had no idea, right? I was scared. I didn't want to, um, but it happened, and I got pregnant with my first son. I don't regret my son. I love my son with all my heart. Um, but that's how he came about. So now I am a teenager and I'm pregnant and I have a child. Um, I'm dropped out of school. Now she doesn't want me in the home. I have nowhere to go
Yeah.
but to be with this guy.
Yeah.
And I never wanted to be with him. He was a POS. Um, he was just somebody I was never attracted to. Nobody that I just genuinely never wanted to be with this
Well, yeah, he's
man.
a
And at the same
grown
time,
man.
I felt like, oh shit, now I'm like my mom. I'm young and I got a kid, and what do I do from here? So I did what anybody would do, and I tried to stick it out with him because I did not want to be a single mom raising a child.
Yeah.
And then I have Brian, okay, and so now I'm stuck. Now, whole parenting has kicked in full fledged. Now, I'm a mom of two children,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm doing the best that I can with them.
And you're like
I
18, right?
never had any help. Um, I did it on my own, and that is hard for somebody at such a young age to do.
Yeah.
Um, I need a cigarette. I'm sorry. Um,
You need a cigarette break?
can I? Can I?
Go ahead.
I mean, I'll take
Absolutely.
you outside. I just need a cigarette.
Absolutely. So you were 18, like around 18 when you had both the kids.
Um, I think 19 when
18.
I had both of them.
That's still very hard. Two kids, 19, drop out from school. You're in a relationship with someone that you don't want to be in a relationship with. And the only type of parenting that you had to mimic was these two women that were horrible, and then Joe and Lois, right? That was their name.
Joe and Lois, good memory. Yeah, Joe and Lois. They were angels. The 4.5 years with them was my safety net. Um, I was I was never harmed with
Yeah.
those folks, and they were my saving grace. And I was ripped from them. That was the only love that I felt in my entire life, as from a newborn all the way up until the age of 18, right? So what, 15, 16 years, I never knew what love was,
Hmm.
except for the 4 years I shared with that family. Um, Again, they're no longer here. They both passed, but they were my angels. Um, my during all of this, um, I told you on the phone, Danielle, that I learned to self isolate myself, and I think a lot of that has to do with is because I never had that mother's love, that mother's protection. Um, that's why I self isolate myself, and I've done this my entire life. I'm still this way. Um, I suffer a lot. Like I've been through the ringer, and I just have just spoke on a lot of the things, but there are some things that are very dark that I just can't speak on.
Yeah.
because it's not okay for TikTok. But that given, sorry, I can't even talk, but saying all
Yeah.
that, here I am as a young mom with two kids. I finally gained the courage to leave this guy, and I
Mm-hmm.
got an apartment on my own, taking care of my children, being that single mom like a lot of us are.
Mm-hmm.
21 kicked in, and at 21 you experiment with going to the bars, and I did that for a little while. I
Mm-hmm.
was going to the bars on the weekends with my friends. Um, I was I was living what a normal 21-year-old would live, and during that time, I was at the bar with one of my good friends, and it was her birthday. We were celebrating her birthday. At the time, my oldest boy, Dakota, was 4 years old. Her husband was watching my son, and my son was brutally attacked that night while I was at the bar. He called me and told me, "Come get your son, he's going to die." So I dropped everything that I had. I didn't even ask questions, didn't second guess it. I ran straight to his house on foot. And here my little boy is laying lifeless, blood from his ears, his nose, his eyes, his mouth. His skin was as black as my jacket. I called 911. This motherfucker is doing dishes in the kitchen like nothing had even happened. I call 911. My friends, I keep in mind I only live maybe 5 houses down from this individual. During the time we were waiting on the ambulance, I ran to my house as fast as I could and I grabbed a baseball bat. I ran in and I smacked this motherfucker over the back of his head with it. Next thing you know, the police come in and I get thrown to the ground, and he knew me. The
Mm-hmm.
officer had known me. He picks me up and he says, "You need to get to the hospital with your kid." I never was charged for assaulting that man because at that time I had blacked out. I was protecting my kid
Yeah.
and like temporary insanity, as you would
Mm-hmm.
call it. So I go to the hospital with my baby. You got CPS there, you got 5, 6 police officers there, and my son's got a skull fracture. My son's eye socket's broke. His nose is broke. So he was in the hospital for some time. And this man went to prison.
Good.
He got 6 years, but he got out 3.5 years good behavior. So when that happened, that was like a reality check for me. I
Mm-hmm.
had to be there to protect my kids at all time, and like this party in life had to stop.
Yeah.
And and that's what I did. I worked, I took care of my kids, um, and I met Joe, which is the father of my two younger kids. And it took a while, but he came in and he wanted to step up to the plate. And at this time, I still didn't want to be a single mom, but I didn't want to be with him. He was a man. I didn't want to be with him, but I wanted to do what I thought was right for my kids. And he grew on me. He was 20 years older than I was. Okay. Um, I got with him. We ended up having two children together. We got married, and the day that we got married, his whole demeanor had changed, and he became very controlling,
Mm.
verbally abusive, physically abusive. So here I am in a relationship that I'm like, man, I'm turning out like my mom. That's the only thing I could say. I'm turning out
Mm.
like my mom. I'm with a guy. He's doing the same thing to me that he did to her. So we were together for several years, and I left him. I left him for a female for the first time. I knew that was the side of the fence I needed to be on. And I need to tell you about that. As far as like the whole transitioning when I knew and this, that, and the other. But this this is how it began. Um,
Hmm.
I left him for a female, and she was my first fiance. I left her because she told me she saw a ghost, and that scared me. Well, I ghosted her, just so y'all know. But she
Did she see that coming? Sorry, that was a horrible.
no, no, she went to work, and I told her I called off work that the next day. I called off work, and I told her I wasn't feeling good, and I packed up and bounced because I was scared.
Yeah.
And it was perfect. Like there was no flaws. We got along. But anyways, um, I left Joe for her. We were together for a couple years, and that's when I realized that that's where I felt safe, is
Yeah.
being with a female and not a male. And I knew that like it was pleasurable on that end as well. And I just was like, this is where I need to be.
Yeah.
I felt happy. You know what I mean? Like I felt truly happy, and I didn't feel intimidated. I didn't feel like I
Felt
was
safe.
fighting for. Yeah, I felt safe. I didn't feel like me being with a female. They can't hurt me. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? They can't hurt me like a male can. They can't. They can't hurt me. And so I was thinking along that as well. Um, and then, like I said, I left her when she openly told me she had seen ghosts. I freaked the fuck out. And from there, um, I moved back in with Joe because um, I had nowhere to go at that point.
Yeah.
So I moved back in with Joe, and at that time he was still in love and didn't want to let me go.
Yeah.
Um, and I come across another male. Um, he was a big giant. He was 6'7", big dude. That didn't last very long. I got with him, and um, he broke me. He broke my entire face. So now, I was physically assaulted by him, and I went back to Joe. Only for like a week or so, I think, and then that's when Jess came in the picture. Um, so Jess and I, she's like, "Hey, you don't need to be there. You're unhappy. You're miserable. Um, just come here, right? Like a friend." And
Hmm.
Jess, I didn't know Jess from Adam, and that's when MySpace was a thing, right? Remember MySpace?
Yeah, the top eight.
Uh-huh. So she had stalked me on MySpace, and she had seen me at the bar numerous of times before that, and she wasn't my type. I never looked at her in that way at all, and she was just being a friend, reaching out, and so I went and stayed with her. Um, it was simply friends. So now we're into um, my adult life, right?
Hmm.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
So
Oh, oh, I'm sorry. Dude. Okay. Sorry.
you're fine. So I had met this female that I was, and this is what we spoke about on the phone. Um, I had met this female, and man, she was the love of my life. Okay, she was beautiful. Not saying anything about you, babe, but don't give me the side eye. But anyways, like she was everything that I wanted in her, and she had a nephew, and we were together for several years. And this whole time she was an addict, and I had no idea.
Mm.
That was hidden from me. Her drug of choice was heroin. I had no idea. I worked. She'd get sick on the weekends, and I didn't understand why. I was convinced that she had a tumor or some kind of stomach issue because she was going through withdrawals, and I had never experienced that, never seen that.
Yeah.
So she had me convinced that something was wrong with her stomach, and when I'm home on the weekends, she can't do her thing, so she would be physically sick. Okay.
Mm.
Um, but I love that woman with all my heart, and that was my first true love, and I don't think that I could give my love the way that I did with her to another person. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Hmm.
I love my wife, but like, do you get what I mean?
Yes. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I feel like
Um,
when you love every person that you love
you
differently.
differently,
You're a different
differently.
person in that time.
That's it. That's
Yeah.
it. And this woman broke me. She broke me, but I see no fault in her. I see no wrong in her. She was perfect to me. And I kept giving her chance after chance after chance, just because I wanted it so bad. Well, she had a nephew.
Mm.
Okay, she had a nephew who was 4 years old, and I loved that little boy like he was my own. This is where I got in trouble. I got in trouble, but I didn't get in trouble. I am an open book. I'm an honest individual. I have nothing to hide. With all the sexual assault that I've encountered in my life, all through my childhood, it's the only thing I knew that was normal to me. When it comes to children, I will go to prison for it.
Hmm.
When I will do whatever it takes to protect anybody's child. You don't even have it doesn't even have to be my child. I'm that type. If I see somebody smack their kid, I'm gonna smack the shit out of you, and I don't even have to know you. My
Do you
job
think?
is to protect every child.
Do you think that's because you wish someone would have done that for you?
Um, I wish I had that protection, but I never did. I was pawned out for their next high.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, I never knew what it was to be protected at all. We never were protected. Um, anyways, this her nephew, my my nephew, 4 years old. Um, the sister had called in the middle of the night and was screaming. Was I mean, it was hysterical. She's in the hospital with her baby. They were rushing him in for emergency surgery. This young boy will never ever have children. His member parts had to be removed due to the violence essay. I took matters into my own hands that night, and I beat this grown man to a pulp. I beat him to a pulp, and I was facing 17 years in prison. And the reason I was facing 17 years in prison was because of every foot that I drugged this man was one count, one felonious charge for every foot for kidnapping. This man, he lived through it. He lived through it. But I promise you, he'll never touch another boy again, another child again. I protected that young boy, and I did what I felt was necessary. It was a very triggering thing for me. This little boy's innocence were taken from him.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, all my charges were acquitted.
Good.
They were all acquitted against me. The day that I came out of court, I face plant right on the concrete outside the courthouse. I cried and I prayed, and this big burden was lifted off my chest. Um, even though I could not protect that boy at that time being, I gave him that protection and that security that this man will never ever harm him again. And I would do it all over again for anybody's kid. I don't care. That's just where I stand. That's where my heart is. That no child deserves to be, nobody
No,
deserves
but
to be sexually assaulted,
especially a child, though.
especially a baby.
No.
So y'all can judge me for that. By all means, judge me. Um, but I would do it all over again. I would do it all over again. So um, that being said, uh, that was a miracle on my end. Um, I think God was looking after me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because of everything that I had gone through. And
Yeah.
this was my way of giving back. As crazy as that sounds, um, that was his way of giving it back to me. You know, um, so I'm not a bad human.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a criminal. A few years later, after that, actually, I think it was before that happened. It was in 2004 um, when I was raising my kids. And that's a long time ago. That's over a decade ago. In 2004, Dakota was born in 2001, being 4 or 5 years old. At that time, it was right between I left my first husband and before I got with my second husband. I caught a charge, the only charge I got. Um, Single mom, um, raising my kids, and a friend came up to me, and she was struggling. At this
Mm-hmm.
time, I was getting paid. Um, I got into underground MMA.
Mm-hmm.
I was fighting. I was getting paid for it, good money. My hands are considered, they're registered, they're lethal. So if I come out here, I'm not allowed to street fight. If I street fight, it's not automatic felonious assault with a deadly weapon. And
Mm-hmm.
that's because of my fighting background. Okay. I'm sorry, I'm jumping a little bit,
You're okay.
but I'm just trying to get everything out, and I'm missing things here. So just try to try to follow as much as you can. I got into fighting. I did that for so many years. I was good at it. It was my way of releasing all my pain. It was
Mm-hmm.
my way of getting all of this stuff out that I had suppressed for so long. I was good at it, and it came to a stop because my trainer, my manager, wanted sexual favors, and in order for me to get the next fight, and I couldn't do that.
Right.
I couldn't do that. So I walked away. I walked away from that. But going back, so with that background, um, my hands are considered deadly,
Yeah.
deadly. And again, um, I'm trying. Sorry,
You're
I'm
good.
trying not to
If
get
if we need a break, we can take a break.
emotional. So, anyways, back to what I was getting at. So I was making good money, and my friends, in my neck of the woods where I was living, they considered me a town hero.
Mm-hmm.
I was like this celebrity to them.
As
Everybody knew who I was. The cops knew who I was. They had my belts hanging up.
mm-hmm.
Um, they loved me. And this one girl, who I thought was a friend, she had come up to me and asked me if I could help her out. And I'm like, sure. What do you need? She's like, hey, can you buy some food stamps from me? And the way that it worked is they would sell them, and you'd only give them half the money, but they
50
needed the
cents on the
money.
Or, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I was like, sure, why not? So we did this for several months, and I'm like, shit,
Mhm.
you're fucking. I'm getting my pantry full. Like
Yeah.
I wasn't complaining.
You
I
have
had the
four, you're a
money.
single mother with four kids at home.
I had the money, and I was trying to help her out.
Yeah.
Well, then she got greedy and wanted to double dip one night.
Mm.
And when I say double dip was, she wanted the cash, but she also wanted her stamps. So then
Mm.
she went and she said that I had taken her card. She said I had taken her card, so I got charged with misuse of food stamps. That's the charge I got on my record. Doesn't make me a bad person. She got her ass beat for that, but I whooped her ass. I went to the bar the next week and looking for her, but I did. I whooped her ass over that
Yeah.
because now I got something on my record that I can never take back, and that's
Right.
before I knew that you could get that expunged.
No.
Okay, but at that time, like you really tried to ruin my life
You try to ruin me over some money.
over some money. Like if you needed the
Right.
money, I would have gave you double the money. But what you did was low as low could get, right? So they put me on probation, and that was it. But it's still on my fucking record.
Yeah.
Misuse of food stamps. So whatever. If y'all want to judge me for that, judge me for that. I mean, I'm not a bad person. That was in 2004. Um, y'all have your own opinion, but anyways, she got her ass beat for that. For that, I will never buy food stamps off of anybody again. So don't ask. Don't ask. Don't do it. By the way, because that
Right.
shit, like they take that. That's welfare,
Yeah.
fucking felony, fraud,
They take it
bullshit.
very
Don't
serious.
ever do it. It's fraud. It's welfare fraud.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Don't because that's what's on my record, y'all. You can pull me up. I ain't got nothing to hide. I'm not a bad man, I promise. But that's the only thing I got charged with: welfare fraud, misuse of food stamps. But it is what it is. You know, I learned from it. I will never buy stamps off another individual. Um, so yeah, like um, throughout all of this, um, you know, Danielle, I come on this app and I smile every day, and I strive to make people feel loved.
Hmm.
Um, it is like this calling that I have because I've never had it. I to this day I don't know what it's like to be loved by a mom. And you know, there's people that are born without moms. Their moms pass away at a very young age. But to me, that's something that I'm missing out on. That's
Yeah.
something that I've always wanted. You know, my mom is alive. She's a phone call away, and we have zero relationship.
Yeah.
Um, and I I'm broken. I'm broken. To live the life that I lived, you cannot live a normal life. My life will forever be altered.
Yeah.
I went. If you look at all my friends, okay, in the real world, I could count on how many men on one hand that's involved in my life. Okay, and two of them are my brothers.
Yeah.
These guys are just guys that I've learned to trust. I can never trust a male. I will always have my back up against the wall forever. Um, I go into um, fighting instinct, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
Um, you know, being a trans man, I to this day I can't walk into a man's bathroom, even though I'm a trans man. I still can't go into a man's bathroom because I'm afraid.
Yeah.
They're in there with their member out, and that just I panic. I have
Yeah.
a full panic attack. Um, I can't do it. Um, I have insecurities. I need to I need to be reassured. Okay, even at 40 years old today, these are things I suffer from. I need to be reminded daily that I am valid, that my feelings are valid, that I am worthy of being loved and protected and to feel safe. And
Mm-hmm.
this is all because of all the trauma. I suffer from severe PTSD. There's a lot of things that are triggering for me. Um, I suffer from night terrors today, to this day,
Yeah.
severe anxiety. I have been through counseling um, the majority of my life, and I've come to a point in my life that when it comes, and I'm sorry if there's any counselors in here, but when it comes to counselors, they study through a textbook.
Mm.
And for me, the way that I can break through, the way that I can move forward, is having somebody that I can talk to and look directly in the eyes that have walked the shoes that I've walked.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody that's felt that pain, somebody that knows what I'm feeling.
Yeah.
It
They can
doesn't have
empathize.
to be everything, but somebody that can relate to something that I've related, they can help me
Mm-hmm.
better than somebody reading out the textbook. And I will hold strong to that.
Absolutely.
I think that that's why I carry myself as tough as I do, because I'm a tough motherfucker. I had to fight every day of my life to survive.
Yeah.
I can take a beating. Um, but that's why I carry myself the way that I do today, because of everything that I've gone through. I have no other choice. It's all I know is to walk with my back against the wall.
Right.
Okay. Um, when I'm sitting at a table, I gotta sit with my back to the wall. I don't like people around me. You know, I don't know what's going on behind me, and so I need to know my surroundings, and that has to do with trauma,
Yeah.
right?
It's part of your PTSD.
It is, and so I don't walk with a chip on my shoulder, and a lot of people got me mistaken. They think that I'm cocky and arrogant, and I'm this and I'm that. But tonight, I hope that a lot of people have more of an understanding as to why I carry myself the way that I do,
Right.
why I think the way that I do. I am an overthinker, you know, um, but at the end of the day, I don't want anybody to feel that pain that I felt, and so um, I try my hardest to help everybody, and that's why I love as hard as I do,
Yeah.
and that bites me in the ass every once in a while, but when I say that I got you, and I mean that.
Yeah.
You know. So I'm sure I left out a lot of shit. I feel like I'm on the spot. If there's anything, ask me, please, because
You
I
did.
feel like I've left a
And
lot out.
no, you did. You
Um,
did really. You. I'm mind blown. Just how
oh,
much
my,
you.
my facial paralysis. Oh, I did leave. See, look, I left a lot of stuff out, Danielle. But I did. I knew I was. And I'm sorry. Um, my second oldest boy,
Mm-hmm.
he was diagnosed. How old? How old was Brian? 7. My second oldest, Brian, he was between 7 and 8 years old,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the first time that, as a mother, second time, um, I felt like God hated me because my son was diagnosed with neuroblastoma.
Mm-hmm.
So for 2 years, we lived at Children's Hospital. I didn't know if my son was going to make it. He had a tumor the size of a grapefruit that was attached to his lung.
Oh.
It grew from his chest wall, and it collapsed his lung, and that's how we found out. But he went through treatment. He overcame that. So I dealt with that. Um, Never left his side. I rocked it with him every day. I laid in the hospital with him. That was a very traumatic experience as a
Mm-hmm.
mother, to find out your son is terminally sick. Um, and then I got paralyzed. Okay. and let me speak on that. Several years back, I had gone in. I had a tumor in my right ear, and I went in to have it removed. And when I woke up, I was paralyzed on the right side of my face. Um, that's something that I will never have that smile back. I've had 13 corrective surgeries. People think I have Bell palsy, and that's not it, or they think I had a stroke. The doctor cut my facial nerve in half. That's what this lump is right here in my eyelid.
Mm-hmm.
You see it? That's the second gold plate that is
Mm-hmm.
in there. That is so that I have the ability to shut my eye when I lower my head back. I
Yeah.
had to tape my eyes shut for an entire year
Wow.
uh, because the doctor that I was seeing, he knew that he had cut my facial nerve, and he was doing everything he can do to keep me within that statute of limitations, that limit, before you can sue them.
Yeah, the malpractice.
So it was a malpractice case. He was giving me every psych med that you could think of. I've got papers this high of nothing but prescriptions where I was heavily drugged so I wasn't aware of what
Yeah.
was really going on. And then I went and had a second opinion. Um, and this was within that, right at that year mark. And they had me in surgery immediately. And they put the plate in my eyes so that I didn't lose my right eye.
Yeah.
I was hallucinating because I couldn't sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so anxious. I actually have, you can find me on YouTube. It talks about my entire story. As far as my paralysis, every day I was making a journal of
Mm-hmm.
everything that I was going through. So you can definitely find me on YouTube if you want to know more about the paralysis. That was a very devastating thing for me. For 2 years, or for the first year, sorry, I had covered every mirror in my house if they weren't broke. Um, I had to, I had no other choice but to temporarily give my younger son and daughter back to Joe because they were frightened. They were afraid of me. They thought something was wrong with mommy.
Yeah.
And that was so hard. It was heart wrenching knowing that my babies didn't look at me the same. Um, and I can tell you, something amazing happened out of that. For the first time, I was being judged. For the first time, people were looking at me sideways.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh, you look like a monster. You look like a sloth and Frankenstein and just these awful things. For the first time, I felt that, what it was like to be judged for what I looked like on the outside.
To be
It
bullied.
made me very, it made me very humble.
Yeah.
It made me very humble because I was that person back in prior to that if you didn't dress a certain way, if you didn't look a certain way, you didn't fit in the cool kid club. I didn't fuck with you. I
Yeah.
had this ultra ego because I was a Billy Badass and I was out here beating motherfuckers' ass and making good money on it. That if you didn't fit my ideal, I didn't
Mm-hmm.
fuck
Yeah.
with you. And so when I got paralyzed, that was the best thing that could happen to me. It made me see people for who they truly were on the inside versus on the outside. It made me respect people on a different level. And if I could go back and change things, I wouldn't because it made me a better person than I am today than I was prior. And even though I don't have my full smile back, I now gained a smirky Elvis Presley smile, and the
Yeah.
girls like that. So it is what it is. I'd much rather have this smile than that smile because I smile more today than I
Mm-hmm.
have in the last 30 years of my life.
That's awesome. I have a couple questions. So the first one is Joe and Lois. Have you ever been able to reconnect with them?
I did. As an adult,
Mm-hmm.
I did. I actually moved back down there in that town that they resigned in. and until they moved. Their hometown was PA, and
Mm-hmm.
they moved back to PA just because she had developed breast cancer,
Mm-hmm.
and they wanted to be closer to their kids had already grown, so they wanted to. He wanted to retire from preaching, and they just wanted to be back home with where their mom and dad and their family
Mm-hmm.
was. So we still talked on the phone. Um, and I think like the last 3 years that they were living, I did not see them. Um, but we still rekindled that friendship, and they will always call me. They called me their daughter, and they always reminded me that I'm sorry. They would always apologize, like, I'm sorry. We wanted you. They felt so guilty.
Yeah.
Um, we would have gave you the best life, and we love you. And so um, they they're not my biological parents, but that was a mom and dad to me.
Yeah.
Um, they again, like I said, they were my angels, and for the first time, I could sleep in their home. The first couple months was rough. I was like a little scared cat that didn't want to come out of the room, stayed
Mm-hmm.
up all night, wanted to lock every door, was worried that somebody was going to come in my room. And then it takes time. It
Yeah.
takes time when you go from something that I have to just be able to bring that wall down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I brought that down with them. And then I get shipped into that adopted family that's just as bad mentally, and my wall went back up. You know what I mean? Um, so that's why I have trust issues and abandonment issues and loyalty issues, and like the other stuff is from the traumatic shit that I've gone through. Um, but yeah, they're they were amazing, and we did rekindle that bond. They never left. They never left. They actually had come out
Mm-hmm.
during the time that we were at an adopted home. They had come out to see us,
That's
my
amazing.
sister and I, and they would say, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. You guys are here." Um, if and I still remember, I would climb in the back of their van and just like, just take me with you. But they couldn't, they
Yeah.
couldn't. They're amazing people. They are. Um, I will love them till the day I die.
The other question I have is, I know you said that your mom had the two before your five, and the two were taken away, and then you five were taken away. Did she ever have any more children? She
No, she
stopped.
never had. Yeah, she never had any more children. That was it. And I did do. I did. I was able to finagle some paperwork. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I was able to pull up some paperwork, and you know how they black things out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, if anybody knows an indigo or an indigo adopted in the Michigan, New York area, send him my way, please. I do know that that's what my brother's name is. Um, as far as the sister, I have no idea.
Have you ever tried doing the DNA testing? Like the Ancestry or the 23andMe?
But wouldn't that only work if he did it as well? And
Yeah, I
see,
mean,
his was a closed adoption.
right. But if he so happened to do a DNA testing and you did one, it would link you guys together.
I never thought of that. I did write a book. It was called The Silent Five, and you guys, I've been talking heavily of pieces of my life over the last few weeks, and like it has brought that depression, the those feelings that I buried within, um, to surface again. And my wife and I were talking, and my book never got published. It got burnt from the first husband in the wood stove, uh, when I
Hmm.
left him for the female, and I think I'm gonna rewrite it again.
You
just
should.
for those to give them hope. Because in the book, it'll be a little bit more graphic. There, like I said, there was things on here that I couldn't talk about just because of how graphic they are.
Hmm.
The things that I've witnessed and seen um, at a very young age is not appropriate for this app. So I think that just by getting my whole story out, um, I think it'll be a good thing for me,
Yes.
and it'll be a good thing for others. It'll give them hope because a lot of people are still in some of those situations, them scenarios,
Hmm.
and it talks about how um, my survival instincts kicked in and what I did to make it through another day, and that could help somebody else at the end of the day. Um, to let people know that regardless of what your outcome is, that there's always hope, and you can
Hmm.
make it. And it's, it's you got to remain strong. You got to remain strong. Um, Man, you guys have no idea. Um, and I hope she's watching because she follows me on this app, and it's not to upset her. It's not to replenish those feelings, that pain, but to know that it's not okay.
Right.
Can you talk a little bit about your transition?
I was gonna get there on that question, guys. I see it. Um,
Okay.
the other question I had, you were talking about your mother was a single mother. Has your biological father ever been involved in your life, or?
Um, my dad's dead,
Oh, okay.
and I I was 18 years old, and I had searched. I started my search for my parents at 16. Couldn't find them. I called every Schaefer, Logwood, I called everybody that I could think of that I could find online, and nobody knew. I thought my parents were dead.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I come across, which was my dad's best friend, his wife. I remembered her name, and I was able to find her number, and I called her, and she's like TT, and that's what my dad called me, was TT.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where my nickname is. It's T. They call me TT.
Mm-hmm.
So my dad named me TT, and she's like, "This is TT," and I said, "Yeah." And I said, "Do you know where my dad's at?" And she's like, "Well, let me have my son Brian," and I'll never forget the conversation. She's like, "Let me call my son Brian and see if he knows." Well, he gave me a number, and I was at work and I was terrified. I was like, "Oh shit, I don't know who's gonna be on the other end."
Yeah.
And it was my dad. It
Mm.
was my dad. I actually left work in the middle of the shift just so I could be on the phone with my dad for hours.
Yeah.
And it was like we picked up where we left off. My dad was forced out of our lives. My mom, Vince, he's in prison right now for murder, first degree murder, um, because of some things that happened while we were there. And like I said, there's some things I can't talk about on this app.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but he's in prison and he's been there for over 2 decades, I believe. I mean, since I was 8, 9 years old, I'm 40.
Wow.
So, anyways, he was very prejudiced. He did not like blacks at all. Okay,
Mm.
and maybe that's why he beat us for a passion. Yeah, Jess is here. She's right here beside me. Um, and my dad's black, so he would try to fight my father. He would beat my mom. Like my dad just could not be around for whatever reason, you know. Um, but anyways, when I was 18, I called him, and we picked up, and I had actually moved out of Ohio, moved to Hilton Head, South Carolina. My dad was a police officer there. He was a cop, and we had an amazing relationship. He moved back to Ohio. Um, we we talked on the phone every Sunday. I went down there, tried every weekend to see him. He was so good to my kids. At the time, it was Owen, Dakota, and Brian, and he loved them like they were his own boys. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? So I can't speak badly on my pops, except for he was an alcoholic, and I'm
Yeah.
not going to judge him for that.
Right.
I don't know what his story is. I don't know why he come from a family of 17 siblings. He was the baby when his mom died, and he just he wanted his mom, and at a very young age back in that time they started working at 12 years old,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what he did. Like he worked ever since he was a kid. And so, when you're a man and you're out there in the field and you're working, um, you're doing grown man things. And he became an alcoholic fairly quickly. I believe he told me around 16 years old.
Yeah, his childhood was taken too.
And he had drank his entire life to where, when I say alcoholic, he would wake up with a beer, pass out with a beer, and do it all over
Mm-hmm.
again. The doctors had told him that he had to consume a 12 pack of beer every day in order to survive.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's how much alcohol dependency he
Yeah.
was on, and then he ended up having a heart attack. I had just got off the phone with him when he had a massive heart attack and it killed him. But
Sorry.
he tried to make it right. He
Yeah.
tried to make it right, and he was a good man. Nobody's perfect.
Right.
People have faults, and with him, he drank, but he paid his bills and he took care of what he needed to take care of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as you can see, the comments were asking so I know we talked about it was after your second husband when you realized like men aren't for you and you started going to women. When did you realize that you wanted to start transitioning? When was that?
I knew I didn't know what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but even when fuck 4 or 5 years old,
Okay.
4 or 5 years old, um, I just kept saying I'm a boy. I'm a boy. I'm a boy in a girl's body. And my mom's like, I'd get my ass beat. I'd get my ass beat for even speaking on it. But she just, you're a tomboy. You're a tomboy. And I remember putting on my brother's underwear. I wanted to dress like a boy. I never wanted um, doll bit. I'd snap the fucking heads off the Barbie dolls. Like I did not want Barbie dolls. I didn't want anything girly. Not that I
Mm-hmm.
wanted baseball bats and cars and GI Joe men and action figures. Um, and so I I had always been told as a child that I was a tomboy. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and then um, when I was in fifth grade, no, when I was in sixth grade, I remember standing in the hallway and there was, the girls here and the boys here, the
Mm-hmm.
bathrooms. And I just stood there and we had just come in from recess and everybody's doing their bathroom breaks. And I'm looking at the bathrooms. And that's when I knew that something was different because I went straight for the boys' bathroom and I wanted to go in there and stand over the toilet and pee like a boy. Still, I didn't understand, but that's what I was feeling, and I got a detention for that. I got in trouble from the teachers because they kept catching me in the boys' bathroom. But that's where I felt like I belonged, and still I didn't understand what was going on. I knew that I was feeling those things like a boy, and I just acted on it, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then I knew that I was everybody. I never dated through high school. None of that, because I knew I was different, and I still was unsure of what was going on. Um, when I was young in grade school, I would I was always attracted to girls, always, always. I never was attracted physically to a male ever in my life, um, and so that was a problem for me because I felt different. I felt like something was wrong. I felt like I had a disease,
Mm-hmm.
because back then in our era, it wasn't spoke on. Nobody talked about that. You didn't hear trans. You never heard that
Yeah,
word.
this was like
Nor,
your middle school was like the 90s, right?
yeah, and you
Yeah.
never heard of gays, right? Like it
Mm-hmm.
just was. We never spoke about it in our era. Um, so then when I went to a foster home, um, I had made a comment that I thought a girl was pretty, and my foster dad was a pastor at the First Church of Nazareth.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that was a sin. I'm going to hell. I like that is not talked about in this house. Um, I'm going to hell for that if I like girls and because I'm black and that they're from that era, that because I'm biracial I need to date a black male.
Mm.
That's what they believed in, right?
Oh,
Um,
the good Old Testament.
yeah, yeah, good Old Testament.
The
So
Old Testament, yeah.
race stays with race, this, that, and the other.
Mm-hmm.
And so I mean that those were the only little bad peaks about them, but he is a minister and they believe in what the hell they want to believe and you can't tell them
Mm-hmm.
no different. So I never spoke on it, right? My foster
Mm-hmm.
brother, he would call me a fag all the time. And I would cry. I would cry because that was I didn't understand. And I just felt like that was a bad thing because that's what I was taught.
Yeah.
Um, so then when I get adopted, this is when it really like my body dysphoria started kicking in. I just felt left out. I felt different. I felt like something was really wrong with me, and I was becoming suicidal. I was becoming suicidal um, because all this stuff I just wanted to be with a girl, and I couldn't identify as what I was looking at. So I tried to open up and talk to my adopted mom about it and no, that wasn't happening either. I got
Yeah.
shot down immediately. They thought it was funny. They thought it was funny. Um, so do you picture yourself in your head as a guy and you're with a girl, or is a girl a girl? I'm like, no. I visualize me being the male being with a girl. No, you're a girl.
Mm.
You know, um, you're going to be gay and this, that, and the other. And I had been taught my whole life that gay was a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But I still didn't understand what transgender was. I didn't understand why I was feeling the opposite sex. I didn't have any knowledge. There was no education on it. And then that's when when I was 21
Mm-hmm.
and I had gone to a gay bar and I met a transgender male. And I'm like, you are everything that I want to be. How do I become you? And how did you do this? And that's when I started doing my research. And then I
Mm-hmm.
went to counseling. And I did counseling for God knows how long, years, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, you're transgender right off the rip.
Mm.
Like, what is that?
Yeah.
You know? And it was so cool to me. And again, you guys, go back years ago, like what, 10 years ago, I made a video, it's on YouTube, about me talking about being transgender.
Mm-hmm.
But being a mom with 5 children, I had to put my sacrifices on the back burner. I had to put all my wants and needs to the side
Yep.
because now I owe my children that responsibility of being a mom and giving them this. And it's not fair to them for me to transition and them not to understand. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So I ultimately put all my wants and needs on hold and waited till all my children became teenagers to where I knew that they would fully understand and maturely would be able to adapt and
Mm-hmm.
fully hear what I was saying.
Yeah. They had the mentality to be able to comprehend what you were
hmm
saying. Yeah.
And my child who was 12, 13, 12 at the time, my youngest, Mom, you should have done it long time ago. We love you for you. We don't care if you have a beard or a mustache. You're our mom. And the hell with everybody else. And they made me feel so loved. And when I got the approval of my children, I went full fledged, right? I got my letter of recommendation. I went and got put on T immediately. and bam, I had my surgery within that first year. Like there was no stopping me because I
Yeah.
had already been going through counseling and knew how I felt. And I just need that reassurance. Like I'm not like fucking multi personality or you
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? Like any of these other problems. Like this is legit what's going on with me. Um, and that was the best day of my life.
That's amazing.
And as a parent, I wanted to make sure because it's my job to give my kids what they want, right? I brought them into this world. My daughter, especially. Do you want your mom to walk you down the aisle, or do you want? I mean, your mom's going to walk you down the aisle, but do you want me as Christina, or can I be
Yeah.
as Christian? When you give me my first grandchild, would you want me to be Christina or Christian? Like I was thinking
Mm-hmm.
in the future for them,
Yeah.
right? I when it comes to me having my children, I am the least selfish person. Their wants, their needs, um, their say is number one to me. If I don't
Absolutely.
get their approval, I'm not doing it. My kids are my life, and they come before anything that I want in this life. So that's how that all happened. My kids are freaking amazing.
So that was you started in like the early 2000s, or oh no, your kid was 12, so
For
2013,
my
2014.
my testosterone, Jess, what day did I start? Sorry, the brain injuries.
You're
I
fine.
can't remember shit. So,
You're good.
what day did I start my T? July 15th of what year? 2021. So
2021.
I'm still freshly new, but my advances are so much.
Mm-hmm.
2022. Yeah, so it's only been a year and a half in
I
that
may
transition.
be, this might be a difficult question. If it is, you can just tell me. But so all your life, everything that you've talked about with your childhood, the things that have happened to you, the mental, everything like that, and then you're transitioning. Do you finally feel like your body is yours?
Girl, say that louder for the ones in the back. Fuck yes. I am the happiest motherfucker in this world. I am up here and can't nobody bring me down. And I get so much hate because I've changed, right? People say you changed. You changed. Your attitude, the way you carry yourself. For 38 fucking years, I lived in a false body. I lived a life that felt false to me. And the first time I am breathing, I am living my life, and I'm on cloud nine, and
Yeah.
I will remain there because I look in the mirror and I see what I felt my entire life. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? I'm confident. Um, this is who I was destined to be. You
Right.
know, and a lot of people have hate towards transgender people, but it's not a disease. It's
Mm-hmm.
not contagious. It's we're trying to identify with our mind and how we feel on the inside to match what we look like on the outside. Does that make sense? I might have said that
Absolutely.
backwards, but it's not a choice. This is something we're born this way. We don't just wake up and say, "Hey, I want to be a man today," or "I want to be a girl today," or yada
Yeah.
yada yada. We're born this way. We don't want to go through the trials and the bullying and all the hate that we receive by
Right.
choice. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? If I was just born with a member on the outside, my carrot, now I would have been golden. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like I would have been golden. But at the end of the day, Danny, I can breathe. I'm
Yeah.
free. And I'm living life the way I should be and as good as I can and I'm just fucking um there's no word for it. Like the way I feel is just it's so astronomical. Like it's mind blowing, and
Yeah.
there's nothing that can only another trans man can understand that feeling. Like I'm just free and I'm proud of who I am, and I just wish that I had the information back when I was young,
Mm-hmm.
and I would have started way, 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 way back young when I was a teenager, but I didn't know.
Yeah.
And then, the reason, in between before my kids, I felt like I was too old. You know what I'm saying? I felt like I was too old. I had already lived half my life. Why do it now? But I
Hmm.
rather live 2 years of being who I am today than be in my coffin 20 years
Right.
earlier than what expected, because that's where it was going. I started self harming myself. I unalived myself. I attempted to unalive myself twice. They had to bring me back because that's how bad it was. I've got scars up and down my arms. They're covered in the tattoos. Um, where I was cutting myself. I've got scars up and down the side of my abdominal rib cage from
Mm.
where I was self harming myself because I was so angry. And that was years ago. But I'm trying to cover up the scars, but they come through as a fucking reminder. Um, but the scars tell stories,
Yep.
and that's where I'm at. And I, like I said, I took myself off the medication. I was on every medication you could think of,
Hmm.
and I felt like it was keeping me in that dark place. It was keeping me depressed.
Mm.
I became more suicidal on those meds, and I just took myself off. Haven't been on medication um, for at least 12 years plus,
Hmm.
and I feel better than I ever could imagine. Um, I think the more that I talk about my story, the more that I'm letting that out freely, and it is a way for me to move on, and my need and want to help somebody else is that's my medicine.
Yeah. It's healing to take the power back of, I've said it in almost every single one, I think, where when we talk about these things, we talk about the traumas that we've been through, we talk about our life experiences. By talking about it and using it to help people is kind of taking our power back. That
Yeah,
power that someone probably took away from us when we were younger, and we're taking it back now. And
that's it.
with that whole question, your whole face lit up. So
Girl, say it
I can
louder for the
tell.
ones in the back.
I can tell
I'm
you.
living my life to the fullest,
Yes.
and I couldn't be happier. Like,
Yeah.
um, life is great. My life is good, and I want to say before you close this up, if y'all want to judge me now, you can judge me, okay? Because now for the 100,000 K that's in here, now you can judge me. Judge me based off whatever you want to judge me for. You know me. Um, I told you my story. Now you understand why I carry myself the way that I do,
Yes.
why I love so hard. Um, but I can promise you this: that if I tell you I got you full heartedly. Um, I don't go out of my way to hurt anybody. I just want to love, protect, help. I want to be that friend. I want to be accepted. Um, I can't make everybody like me. I'm not a bad individual. Um, I think my biggest downfall is I love too hard. You know, I love too hard, but
Nah,
I
it's not
hope
downfall.
this brings a little bit more respect in your eyes towards me, and you're like, damn, this motherfucker really been
Walk
through
through
some shit.
hell.
That's
I've
it,
walked through
and I
hell. Now,
survived. I survived because
yeah.
going through what I went through, I don't know how we made it out alive. Had we been there another month or two, 90% chance that we would have been dead.
Yeah.
So it's a miracle that we got out when we did. Um, you can either love me or hate me, but at the end of the day, I'm gonna still love you. I'm gonna still love you because that's just who I am.
I don't think it's a downfall. I know we all say that we love hard and that's our downfall, or we're very loyal is our downfall, but our love and our loyalty is not determined based on the wrong people getting it.
That's it.
It's their loss.
That's it.
It's 100% their loss.
And when I give you my love and I call you family and a
Hmm.
friend, you've made the best friend in the world because I will always have your back. Um, I will always have the best interests for you. Um, I want you to succeed. I want you to feel safe. I want you to know that you have somebody that you can always count on. Because 9 times out of 10, I promise you, I can relate to whatever anybody in here has to say. I promise you that. Just get to know me. Just get to know me. Um, reach out to me. Talk to me. Don't hate on me because somebody's in your ear. Don't hate on me because the way I carry myself. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
Danny, love me. Love me. I'm a good motherfucker.
I
And
know.
and I love each and every one of you. And some of y'all I love a little bit more. Um, and when I say I got you, I got you. Okay. I went my entire life not feeling love, not feeling protected, not feeling wanted. Um, and that's all I live for now. You know what I'm saying? Um, so now you have it. Now you have it. I'm sorry I couldn't speak on certain things tonight, but when I do get my book read, you guys will understand why I
Yeah,
couldn't
you have
speak on here.
over 1,000
But
people that'll probably read
when I
that.
get my book read, when I get my book written, again, it took me 3 years to write it. Um,
Better do a whole chapter.
you want a whole chapter?
So I have one more question. I have one more question for you, and then I can let you go. And then if Jess doesn't mind, if I can ask her something, if she's okay with that, I would love to ask her
Yes.
a question. So the last question I have for you that I like to ask everybody is anybody that is going through or has gone through similar experiences as you, what advice would you give them on healing?
I'm sorry. Say that again. I'm
People that
sorry.
are watching that might be experiencing or have experienced the same things that you did in your life, what advice would you give them on healing from that?
On healing,
Mm-hmm.
first I want to say, don't ever give up. Don't ever give up. Okay, you got to fight through it every day, and every day is stronger. And there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. You just got to keep pushing. Never give up. On healing, the what I do for myself. Okay, everybody heals differently,
Mm-hmm.
but for me is to release it. Release all those suppressed demons and feelings that you have buried within, because that's the goat way out, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the easiest thing to do is just bury it under. You got to remember, it always comes back to surface. Okay, so you need to come to a place, um, within yourself to be able to talk about it,
Mm-hmm.
to in hopes that it's going to help the next person, right? You need to talk about it. You need to release those tears. You need to release that fucking pain because the longer you hold on to it, you're all you're doing is suffering.
Right.
Okay,
And our silence protects our abusers.
that's it. So you need to open up. You need to talk about it. If you need to have me beside you, if you need to have Danny beside you, if you need to have whoever else you may feel that is acceptable, you have them beside you. But you
Mm-hmm.
need to speak out. You definitely need to talk about it. Um, there's all different ways of coping. Um, when I was feeling down, okay, when I was feeling down and depressed, I surrounded myself around those that were supportive, that were happy. I surrounded myself in a light, and when I say a light, I mean positive energy. Okay, positive surrounding. You want to continue to do something. You don't want to self isolate. That is the worst thing that you can do. And trust me, I've done that. That's not the way to go about it.
Right.
Do things, keep your mind happy. Do things that you enjoy doing. If you forgot what that is, pick it back up. Okay, go
Mm-hmm.
out and read a book. Go fishing. Go surround yourself around positive people. Um, but when you're starting to feel down, you need to surround yourself around people that love you, people that are supportive, and just talk about it. Okay, talk about it to people that you can trust.
I always tell
Amen.
my daughter, you can't expect to see sunshine when you're sitting in shade.
That's it. You can't.
Yeah.
You can't. And just remember, um, it's okay to not be okay.
Yes.
Now you guys see that I get on this app, and I am probably one of the most broken individuals on this app. And there's countless nights that I take a shower and I just let it run on me with my clothes on and I just cry. And even though it's in the past, it it hurts and it's
Yeah.
always going to hurt. It's always going to hurt and it's okay to cry as long as we don't stay there.
Right.
Okay? You got to remember that. Don't stay in that mindset. It's okay to stay there for a few minutes, half an hour and just cry and vent and scream and fucking hit
Yeah.
the wall, whatever it is you need to do. Just don't stay there. And I mean that's pretty much the only thing I can say on that. And that's what's been helping me is that I have been fluently being able to speak about it.
Mm-hmm.
I still have my down days, and I'm
Yeah.
going to probably for the remainder of my life. But I've learned over the 40 years that I've been living this is that I cannot stay in that mindset,
Right.
you know. And I just surround myself with positive energy.
Absolutely.
Danny wants to talk to you for
Oh
a minute.
no.
I'm
If she's
gonna
okay.
go. I'm gonna go leak the carrot real quick. Hold on.
All right. Thank you so much. Hi, Jess. Thank you so
Hello.
much. I know it was unexpected. I should have told Christian earlier. Um, so everybody was asking, you and Christian met on not Facebook, MySpace, right?
Yeah, I kind of stalked him a little bit.
It works. So one question I do have for you, like you've obviously have heard Christian's story way before. And there's a lot of people, maybe they have a spouse or a child or a friend or something along those lines of that has gone through maybe not all of what Christian has gone through, but maybe some of the things that he has experienced in life. And you've been a support system. How do you do that? Like what is your best approach to support Christian when he has his bad days?
Um, I don't just be there to listen. Just be there to listen. Just let them talk. Don't push them. I mean, just let them know that you're always going to be there. Like he said, he still has a wall up.
Yeah.
Like we still have our, you know, he's even with me, and I've been here for 15 years,
Yeah.
but he still he was never shown love.
Yeah.
And so like we're getting there. Like
Yeah.
he's way more vulnerable with me than he used to be. But I would just say just to be there for him, and they'll talk when they're ready.
Yeah.
Um, I've heard his whole story. I told him you need to write this book.
Yeah.
Um, you need to get it out there because somebody's going through it.
Yeah.
And it's just hard because like with this, he relives it every time he talks about
Yeah.
it. And so it the last time he tried to write the book, it took him to a really, really dark place. And it does. And you just gotta, I mean, I just try to be there as much as possible
Yeah.
and listen and not push him, but push him at the same time, if that
Yeah.
makes any sense.
No, it makes sense. I tell people all the time, like, if someone's going through something, don't try to fix it. Don't try to fix it, or don't try to push them further than what they need. Just let them know, like, hey, you're not alone, and I'm sitting right here. If you just want me to be silent with you, I'll be silent with you. If you just want to watch TV together, we'll watch TV together. But when you are ready, I am here. And
Absolutely.
it takes, I know, probably a lot of patience and also courage on your part, because it's a lot. It's a lot. And I think it's amazing that you are that you're his support system, that you're there, and you've been there for 15 years. That's
I
amazing.
just wish, like I told him, I said, I just wish you would have met my parents. Like both of my parents are deceased, but like it's like we came from two totally different
Right.
sides of the spectrum because like I had the mom and dad and the
Mhm.
love and the like the family part
Yeah.
of it. And so I just like I tell him, you know, if nothing else can come out of it because he can't go back and rewrite the past.
Right.
He can't he can't take any of that away. He can't, but to get that out, to finally get that out, and that somebody is in the same position you are, because sadly, in the days and times we live in now, it happens more than we like to admit.
Yeah.
That somebody can realize, oh my gosh, look how far he's come.
Yep.
Like, it's not like my life isn't over. It's not going to be over. I'm going to get past this, and eventually come out on top like he did.
Right. I know a lot of people that watch the sweet teas, they enjoy them because they don't feel or hearing, like I've had people come on here and they tell so many different we've talked about everything on sweet tea so far. And the biggest part the thing that lets me know that what I'm doing is the right thing is because hearing our stories makes people not feel alone. They don't feel alone. They don't feel um like there's someone that can relate to them in this world. We might not be sitting at the same, right face to face, but they know there's someone else in this world out there that can relate to them, that they're not alone and they can get through it and they can overcome it and they can, have a great life afterwards. You know what
And
what happens to
you're
us
amazing.
doesn't define us.
You are amazing,
Oh, thank you.
because if more people would, I'm not saying smaller creators can't too, but if more bigger creators would take their platform and use it for something good, like what you're doing,
Thank you.
the whole app would change,
Right.
because there's a lot of drama on this app that doesn't need to happen, like some high school stuff. And this is helping people.
Yes.
Like, you're using it for the good.
Yes. And it's definitely like the comments and the support is definitely it reassures me that what I'm doing, because I was scared. I'm like, man, we about to trauma dump on a whole bunch of people, and I was nervous. But I mean, so far, just the comments and people being excited for Thursdays and the YouTube and all that stuff lets me know that what I'm doing is a good thing, and it's
It
helping
is a
a
good
lot of
It's
thing.
people.
therapy.
Yeah.
I told you, Danny, you you're saving lives, and you don't even know it. You're moving mountains right now. For you to allow me to come, and I'm sorry, I'm not trying to tear up, but
I've been holding it back here the whole time. I've been sitting here like this.
I
I
have
hold it
two.
back
I have two, and I can only get
because
my
I don't want to
story
start and
out
get you
on
starting.
my
So
platform to 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 so many people. And for you to allow me to come on your platform and share my story to the viewers that aren't over on my side, that means the world to me, and I can't thank you enough for the opportunity tonight. I am I'm beyond I am beyond broken, you know, and it's a struggle every fucking day for me. And I come on here like you do, and I just try to be that light for the next human being,
hmm
because they need people like us. Um, and it's hard. It is so hard, and
yeah,
people really need to take a step back and 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 be kind. At the end of the day, they need to be kind and thoughtful and and not be so harsh to individuals, because you don't know what anybody's going through,
right.
right?
Know what's in my closet.
Um, I just want to say thank you, and um, to all the people that were in here tonight, thank you for being kind, um, because kind, it moves mountains for people. It really does, and your kindness may give them that next little bit of energy that they need to make it through a day. Okay, um,
Thank you for trusting me enough to.
I do, and like I said, you don't know what this meant for me tonight. You truly do. I don't think you understand what you did for me tonight. It means the world to me, because that's all I ever wanted on this platform, is to get my story out, um, for somebody to hear it and pick it up, because my story is a story,
Yeah.
It definitely is a story, and I am what you call a true fucking warrior, a true survivor.
Yeah.
Um,
You're supposed to be here.
Right.
there is a reason I'm here. There's a reason for me to be here still. And
Someone just commented in here and it was really pretty. It says, even broken crayons still color.
that's it, baby. That's
Even
it.
crayons still color. That was so, I saw that and I was like, that's so pretty.
My blood pressure's through the roof right now.
I bet.
Somebody also said that they watched you instead of Grey's Anatomy, so there's that.
What? Someone said one time I look like Meredith Grey, and I was like, is it because of my Bell's palsy? Like, is that what y'all are saying?
Oh man. So when I get off of here, I will probably break down and start crying, but I'm okay. I'm okay. I really am. But you guys realize it's a struggle for me to lace my shoes every morning.
Mm-hmm.
It truly is. There are life altering things from my past that affects my everyday life, and my wife is absolutely amazing because I put her through the ringer, and I'm not the best husband at times because that is the one person that I can trust, and I take my anger and my sadness and my pain and all that out on her at times when I'm just having a really bad day, and she takes the blunt force of it, and she has not left my side, and she just sits there and she just listens to me, you know. And I think she's come to learn that you can't push people like
Right.
us. You know, you can't push people like us. When we're ready, we're ready.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so you know, she is the reason, one of the reasons why I'm able to be the person that I am. You know, so
That's beautiful.
anyways,
I'm glad you found each other.
yeah.
They were asking. So, the YouTube that is his transition is Christian 32 Green, like the color. And then the one,
Oh. Can one of my mods pin it? Christian 32 green, or can you not pin it when someone's in the box? Oh, that we can pin with the box.
and then this one's your surgery.
All about my facial paralysis,
And that one's Christina Logwood.
and then yeah, what Ken just said. And then the other YouTube about my paralysis is Christina Logwood.
Is it in your bio?
No.
You should put it in your bio.
Okay. Okay.
There's actually, if you go in your bio, there's like, it looks like the little.
I don't know if I want to though, because I look so ugly. I look so ugly. It's very sad.
But it's who you are.
It's
You can put
very
it in
sad.
your link tree.
I'll put it in my link tree on my main account.
Okay.
So do not judge me, you guys. I've come so far. Do not judge me.
There's no.
If anybody tries to judge you now, you got about 1,000 people that are gonna stand behind you and let them know we ain't doing this.
Um,
It'll play after, yeah.
it is just it's awful where I was to where I look now. I've come a long way. A lot of surgeries, 13 surgeries later, just to be where I'm at right now.
Oh,
Like,
wow.
it's bad. It's bad. It's ugly. I don't even like
Not
it
ugly.
because it still makes me cry. But so there you go. There's my sweet tea, baby. If y'all got a different opinion of me, so be it. But this is what you get. This is who I am. This is what I've been through.
Look, hold on. They needed this.
No, no, you're a cheese ball.
No, they said give him a hug for us.
So that's it. And thank you again for allowing me to share my story. So.
Absolutely. And I look forward to you being on more panel talks with us.
Absolutely. I told you I'm
He's
down
going to be
for
doing
it.
the panel conversations with us. So I look forward to that as well.
That's it. Me too. So just when you get that all figured out, just send me the
Yes.
details.
I will. Thank you so much for sharing your story. We all appreciate it. Jess,
All right.
thank you so much for letting us steal Christian for 2 hours.
2 hours.
Yeah.
It's okay.
If
All
you got my number. If you need to text me. I'm one text away or a call away.
right. I appreciate it. Thank you again. And I love all the support. You guys are amazing.
Bye,
I'm going
honey.
to let you go. All right.
All right, hon.
Hold on. You might have to kick me out.
I
got you. I got you. All right. You know I had to put it on. You know I had to put it on to end it out. All right, guys. That was an amazing, crazy. Oh my gosh, I have such a newfound respect for Christian and everything that he's gone through. That's proof right there that, you know, especially me, I never knew Christian, I never met Christian, and I went off of what someone else said, and I could have made a great friend months ago. So, you know, that's definitely an eye-opener to me. All this will be downloaded and will be put on my YouTube. My YouTube is in my bio. If you hit the little Instagram icon, you can get it there. Or you can go to where it says bio link, I think it says, or bio site. Click on that and it'll give you to Sweet Tea with Danny. If you still can't find it that way, you can go to YouTube, Sweet Tea with Danny, DANI. Make sure to like and subscribe. Every video is on there except for mine. I know I still have to put mine on there, and I'm going to put it on there. But I appreciate every single one of y'all. Thank you for keeping it respectful. And next Thursday, we will have Alyssa Nardone with us. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. Bye, y'all.